Her voice still echoes in my ears. Get out. And don't ever come back. The slam of the front door rattled the walls as I walked away, suitcase in hand. My chest burned, my vision blurred, but I didn't look back. Not once. That night, as I sat in my tiny apartment staring at 4 bare walls, the words replayed over and over. My own mother had banished me from the only home I'd ever known. But what she didn't realize was that her outburst would uncover a secret she and Dad had been hiding. A secret that flipped everything upside down. If you're watching this, drop a comment below, hit like and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you is one of the wildest stories of family betrayal you'll ever hear. My name is Amanda. I'm 28 years old. And a few weeks ago, I walked out of my parents' house after my mom screamed those words at me. At first I thought maybe she'd calm down. That she'd call and apologize. That Dad would step in and fix things like he usually did. But the phone never rang. Not until weeks later. And when it did, Dad wasn't asking me to come home. He wasn't asking if I was okay. He was asking one thing. Why did you stop paying the mortgage? Let me rewind. After college, I moved back in with my parents to save money. They told me I could live there rent-free if I helped with bills. I agreed, and for 3 years I quietly covered utilities. Or at least that's what I thought I was paying. Every month Mom would hand me a number. $1,200, sometimes $1,500. She'd sigh about how expensive gas and electric had become, and I, being naive, eager to help, paid without question. But I didn't know the truth. That money wasn't going toward utilities. It wasn't even split between bills. It was going toward their mortgage. I had been secretly paying for their house all along. And the night she screamed at me to leave, that was the night I realized just how deep their betrayal ran. Because if I wasn't welcome under their roof, then neither was my money. When Dad called demanding answers weeks later, I finally gave him the truth. And my answer left him speechless. I still remember the exact moment Dad's voice cracked through the phone. Amanda, why did you stop paying the mortgage? Not how are you, not are you okay, not even a whisper of regret for the night Mom shoved me out with nothing but my suitcase. No, just panic over money. I took a deep breath and let the silence stretch. Then I said, calm but sharp, because Mom told me to get out and never come back. So I did. And when I left, my wallet left too. There was a pause so long I thought the line had gone dead. Finally, Dad sputtered, you don't understand, we need that money. Without it, we'll fall behind. I cut him off. Do you even hear yourself? You threw out your own daughter, and the first thing you call about is the mortgage. For years, I'd been the invisible backbone of their house. I'd worked late nights, skipped vacations, eaten ramen for dinner just so I could hand over bill money every month. And all the while they let me believe it was utilities. But the day after I left, I went online to change my address for mail forwarding. That's when I saw it, a past statement accidentally sent to my email. The account number matched. The payments matched. Every dollar I'd handed them had gone to the mortgage. Not gas. Not electricity. Their mortgage. My heart had dropped into my stomach. 3 years of being their secret safety net. 3 years of paying for a house they now told me I wasn't even welcome to live in. Back on the phone, Dad's voice turned pleading. Amanda, please. Your mother was angry. She didn't mean it. We can talk this through. Just keep sending the payments and we'll make it right. I laughed bitterly. Make it right? You lied to me for 3 years. You let me bleed myself dry so you could live comfortably. And when Mom didn't get her way, she kicked me out like I was trash. That's not family. That's exploitation. The line went quiet again. Finally, Dad muttered, if you don't help us, we could lose the house. I closed my eyes, steadying myself. Then maybe you'll finally understand what it feels like to lose something you thought was secure. And with that, I hung up. For the first time, I wasn't the one scrambling to keep them afloat. They were the ones drowning. And I wasn't about to throw them a lifeline. The days after that phone call were quiet, eerily quiet. No texts. No emails. Not even a guilt-tripping voicemail from Mom. But then it started. First came a message from Emily, my older sister. Amanda, Mom and Dad are stressed. They said you're refusing to help with the bills. What's going on? I clenched my jaw. Of course they'd spin the story to make me the villain. I typed back one sentence. Ask them whose name was actually paying the mortgage. An hour later she replied, wait. What? The truth was spreading faster than I expected. And my parents weren't ready for it. By the weekend, cousins were reaching out too. Amanda, is it true you were covering your parents' mortgage? For 3 years. I told them everything. The secret payments. The fake utility bills. The night Mom screamed at me to get out. Every word was like gasoline on a fire. Because in my family, appearances were everything, and now the mask was cracking. Meanwhile, Dad called again. His tone was different this time. No anger, just desperation. Amanda, please. Your mother hasn't slept. We're falling behind. We could lose the house if you don't help. I sat in silence, letting his words hang heavy. Then I said slowly, you already lost something. You lost me. And that's worth more than this house. He tried again. But we're family. I snapped. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't steal. And family sure as hell doesn't throw their daughter out while she's paying their mortgage. He went silent. I could almost hear the shame through the phone. That weekend I drove past the house I'd once called home. The lawn was unkempt, weeds sprouting in the garden. The windows were dark. For the first time it didn't feel like mine. Not even a little. And strangely I didn't feel sad. I felt free. They'd used my love for them as leverage, turned my loyalty into chains. But when Mom screamed for me to leave, she cut those chains herself. Now they were stuck in the mess they created, scrambling for answers. Me. I was done being their solution. But deep down I knew the storm wasn't over. My parents weren't the kind to admit defeat. And their next move would prove just how far they were willing to go to drag me back. I didn't have to wait long for their next move. The following week I received a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a typed letter, not from my parents but from their lawyer. My stomach dropped as I read the words. Demand for financial contribution. They were actually trying to claim I had a legal obligation to keep paying the mortgage. The letter argued that since I had voluntarily contributed for years, it created an expectation that I would continue. I laughed out loud, the sound bitter in my empty apartment. An expectation? Sure. A legal duty? Absolutely not. I called their lawyer myself. Hi, this is Amanda Blake. If my parents want me to pay their mortgage, they should try honesty instead of manipulation. I never signed a contract. And I certainly never agreed to be their personal ATM. The lawyer sighed. Miss Blake, off the record, I can tell you this won't hold up in court. But your parents insisted I send the letter. Of course they did. That night my phone lit up with texts from Mom. How dare you embarrass us with that call? You've always been ungrateful. We raised you and this is how you repay us? Her words hit me like stones. For years I would have caved at this guilt. But not anymore. I typed back one sentence. You told me to get out and never come back, so I took your advice. Then I blocked her number. The fallout spread quickly. My aunt called furious. Amanda, your mother is in tears. How could you abandon them like this? I told her the truth. They abandoned me first. I just finally believed them. There was silence on the other end and then a quiet, I didn't know. Of course she didn't. My parents were experts at playing the victims. But little by little their lies were unraveling. Meanwhile I focused on rebuilding my own life. I picked up extra shifts, saved every penny and even started looking at condos of my own. The thought of owning a place with my name on the deed filled me with a pride I never felt in that house. Because that house had never been mine. It had been my prison. And now for the first time I had the keys to freedom. But I knew my parents. And I knew they weren't done fighting yet. And the next call I received would confirm it. The call came late on a Friday night. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. Against my better judgment I answered. Amanda, it's your father. His voice was low, almost defeated. I said nothing, waiting. We're in trouble, he admitted. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. If we don't make the next payment, we could lose the house. There was the truth. Not love. Not regret. Just fear of losing bricks and drywall. Kept my tone steady. That's not my problem anymore. His voice cracked. How can you say that? You grew up here. This is your home. No, I snapped. It was never my home. It was a place I paid for while being treated like I didn't belong. You told me to leave. So I did. The silence on the line stretched. Finally, he whispered, your mother didn't mean it. I clenched my jaw. Then she shouldn't have said it. And I hung up. For years I had dreamed of hearing my parents beg for me. Not out of spite but just to know I mattered. But now hearing Dad's desperate voice didn't give me satisfaction. It gave me clarity. They hadn't seen me as a daughter in a long time. I was just a wallet with a pulse. That weekend Emily called again. Amanda, please think about what you're doing. If they lose the house. I cut her off. If they lose it, maybe they'll finally understand what it feels like to lose someone who kept them afloat. Maybe they'll realize the cost of pushing me out. Emily's voice wavered. You've changed. No, I said softly. I just finally see the truth. By Monday word had spread. My parents' friends knew. Neighbors whispered. The family reputation they cared about more than anything was crumbling. And I hadn't lifted a finger, just stopped paying. For once I wasn't the one scrambling. They were. That night as I sat in my little apartment, I opened my laptop and looked at listings again. Condos with bright windows, cozy kitchens, balconies overlooking the city. Places where every payment would build my future, not cover the lies of people who threw me away. And I realized something powerful. The house they were fighting for had never been my dream. But the life I was building now, that was mine. Still, I knew my parents weren't done yet. And the next stunt they pulled would push me to my final breaking point. The stunt came in the most shameless way possible. One afternoon I came home to find an envelope taped to my apartment door. No postage, just my name scribbled across the front. Inside was a letter in Mom's handwriting. Amanda, if you won't help us willingly, then we'll take what's ours. After all, family sacrifices for each other. You wouldn't even have a career if it wasn't for us raising you. UOWS. My stomach turned. The entitlement, the manipulation, it was all there in black ink. But what made my blood run cold was the final line. We've spoken to a lawyer. If you don't start paying again, we'll sue you for back contributions. I laughed so hard tears stung my eyes. To me? For the money I gave them out of love? For bills they lied about? The next morning I marched into my lawyer's office and handed him the letter. He skimmed it, then looked up at me with a smirk. This wouldn't hold up for 5 minutes in court. If anything, it proves they were deceiving you. If they push, we countersue for fraud. That word, fraud, rang in my ears. For the first time I realized I wasn't trapped in their web. They were trapped in mine. I drafted my own letter. Short, sharp, final. You told me to leave. You told me never to come back. So I did. That means my money left with me. If you try to drag me into court, I will bring every receipt, every bank transfer, every lie you told me about utilities. I will show the judge exactly who you are. Stop contacting me unless it's an apology. I mailed it the same day. The silence that followed was deafening. Days passed. Weeks. No calls. No envelopes taped to my door. No guilt-tripping messages from Mom. For once, they were the ones afraid of me. And it felt liberating. By June I closed on my own condo. A one-bedroom with sunlight streaming through the windows and a little balcony where I drank coffee in peace. My name was the only one on the deed. My money went into my future, not their lies. As I stood in my new living room, boxes piled high around me, I whispered into the empty air. I'm finally free. But I knew the final word wasn't just about freedom. It was about closure. And I was ready to deliver it. Moving into my condo felt like breathing fresh air after years underwater. The keys jingled in my hand, heavy with meaning. Mine. No hidden deals, no guilt-ridden transfers, no strings attached. I painted the walls, unpacked my books, and set up my little balcony garden. Every detail screamed independence. And yet, some nights, lying in bed, I felt the old ache, wondering why my parents had chosen control over love. By July, word spread through the family that I had bought my own place. That's when the messages started again. This time not from Mom or Dad, but from relatives. Aunt Marlene, Amanda, I heard about the condo. Your parents are devastated. They say you abandoned them. Uncle Jim, family is everything. Houses come and go, but you'll regret cutting ties. I didn't bother explaining. They didn't know the half of it, and my parents weren't about to confess they'd lied to me for years. But Emily called one evening. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard. Amanda, she stumbled. Mom and Dad are really struggling. They might lose the house. Can't you just help them one last time? I stared at the ceiling, anger prickling under my skin. Emily, do you hear yourself? I was helping them, for 3 years. They lied, manipulated, and when Mom got angry she screamed at me to get out. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was the truth of how they see me. Emily's silence told me she finally understood. 1 week later I got another letter. This time no threats, no demands. Just 3 words scrawled in Dad's handwriting. "We need you." I set it down, my chest tight. For years those words would have dragged me back. But now they only confirmed what I'd already learned. They never saw me as a daughter. Only as a safety net. Marking the letter as the end, I folded it and slipped it into a drawer. Not out of guilt, but as a reminder. A reminder of who I used to be and who I refused to be again. On my balcony that night, sipping coffee under the stars, I realized something profound. I wasn't the one who left my family. They left me the night they chose money over love. And I wasn't going back. But there was one final chapter left to write. The reflection I owed myself. The letter sat in my drawer for weeks. Those 3 words staring at me every time I opened it. "We need you." There was a time in my life when those words would have broken me. I would have dropped everything. My job, my savings, my sanity, to rush back into their arms and fix their world. Because for years I believed my worth existed only in what I could give. But this time I read those words differently. They weren't a plea for love. They weren't even an apology. They were a confession of what I had always known. My parents didn't need me. They needed my money, my compliance, my silence, and I wasn't giving it anymore. By August I was fully settled into my condo. Sunlight streamed across my living room in the mornings, my little plants thrived on the balcony, and the fridge was filled with food I'd bought with money that went entirely toward my own life. It felt like breathing air I'd been denied for years. But sometimes at night the silence pressed in. I'd scroll through old photos on my phone. Christmas dinners, birthday cakes, Sunday afternoons where I sat at that big dining table surrounded by people who always made me feel like a guest instead of a daughter. And I'd wonder, was any of it real? Then I'd remember Mom's voice, sharp as a knife. "Get out and never come back." That was the real moment of truth. One evening Emily came by. She stood awkwardly in my doorway, holding a bottle of wine like a peace offering. "Nice place," she said softly, eyes scanning the cozy apartment. "Thanks," I replied, crossing my arms. "All mine." We sat at the table, sipping in silence before she finally spoke. "They're losing the house, Amanda. For real this time. Foreclosure. Mom's been a wreck and Dad, he's not himself." I stared at her. "And what do you want me to do with that?" Her eyes pleaded. "They need you." I laughed bitterly. "No, Emily. They need a scapegoat. They need someone to carry their mistakes. And for years I played that role. But not anymore." Emily swallowed hard. "I know. I should have spoken up sooner. I let them use you and I didn't stop it. I'm sorry." Her apology surprised me. For the first time she wasn't making excuses, she was taking responsibility. But apologies don't erase scars. "I appreciate that," I said quietly. "But it doesn't change what they did. They lied. They stole. And when I finally saw the truth, they threw me out like trash." Emily's shoulders slumped. "So that's it? You'll just watch them lose everything?" I set my glass down. "Emily, they already lost everything the night they screamed at me to leave. A house is just bricks. But me, I was their daughter. And they decided I wasn't worth keeping." The following week I drove past the old house one last time. The lawn was overgrown, paint peeling, curtains drawn. It didn't look like the home I once knew. It looked like a tomb. And standing there I realized something powerful. I wasn't grieving anymore. I wasn't angry either. I was free. My parents had gambled away their daughter for control, for pride, for appearances. And now they were facing the consequences without the safety net they thought would always be there. On Christmas Eve I hosted my own dinner. My condo was small but warm. Friends filled the seats, laughter spilled into the kitchen, music hummed softly in the background. These people weren't bound to me by blood but by choice, and that made it sweeter. Midway through dinner my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later I listened. It was Dad. His voice was broken, tired. "Amanda, it's gone. The bank took the house. Your mother doesn't stop crying. We don't know where to go. Please, please come home." I deleted it. Because here's the truth, I was home. That night, standing on my balcony with the city lights glowing around me, I raised a glass to the sky. Not in bitterness but in closure. To the girl who once paid thousands for a roof she wasn't welcome under. To the daughter who thought her love had to be bought in monthly installments. To the woman who finally learned that walking away wasn't weakness, it was strength. I whispered into the cold December air, "You told me to get out and never come back." And I listened. I just never knew it would save me. So to anyone watching this, have you ever been cast out by the very people who should have protected you? Share your story in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more. Because here's what I know now. The strongest door you'll ever close is the one that leads back to toxic family. And sometimes the only way to come home is to build your own.